Hi and welcome everyone to another video. My name is Denis and today I'm going to show you a wildcard draft for Gaming 16 of Fantasy Premier League, so let's just jump straight into it. Okay guys, so as I said before, today I'm going to show you a wildcard draft for Gaming 16 of Fantasy Premier League, but before doing that, what I want to do, I want to take a little look at the fixtures. Now, if you just want to see my wildcard draft for Gaming 16, feel free to skip to that part, but before showing you my team and discussing about my picks, I want to discuss a little bit to see which are the best teams to target, which teams have the best fixture runs, and also which players to target from these teams. Now on the screen you're seeing all the fixture runs for all the teams from the Premier League from Gaming 16 to Gaming 21. So let's just try to have a better image of which players and which teams we want to target. Even if you're not using your wildcard, hopefully this video is going to be helpful for you. Let's start with Liverpool because they are on the first place here on the Fantasy Football Hub app. Now, again, with Liverpool, it is a little bit a shame that we can't really go and target a lot of players from Liverpool because there's a big crisis at the moment with Mohamed Salah, with Arne Slot, but with Liverpool in general as a team, they are not defending well, they are not attacking amazingly. So I'm just not sure how many players would you include on a wild card, or I'm not sure how many players from Liverpool do you want to target on your wild card. But again, we're going to discuss about that. Obviously, the fixture run is Brighton, Spurs, and then two home games against Wolverhampton and Leeds, which is really nice. So for the next four fixtures from Gaming 16 to Gaming 19, if you have some Liverpool players, probably I think that a good idea would be to just keep them. After that is Fulham, Arsenal, and Burnley in Gaming 22. So the fixtures for Liverpool are good. The problem is just Liverpool playing at the moment. So yeah, I would try to avoid, if possible, buying players from Liverpool at the moment. Newcastle, Brentford. Again, with Newcastle, I'm not so sure how many players I would include on a wildcard. They have a decent fixture against Sunderland away, although not amazing. And then in Game Week 17, 18, Chelsea at home, Man United. And then from Game Week 19, the fixtures are getting better with Burnley, Crystal Palace, Leeds, and Wolverhampton. So if you're not using your wildcard, probably I would just delay buying Newcastle players until Game Week 19 or something like that. Brentford, I think that is going to be a really interesting team on a free, on a wildcard, or even if you're just using your 5 free transfers from AFCON. Leeds, Wolverhampton, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Everton, and Sunderland in Game Week 21. So this run of fixtures is pretty good. We're going to discuss on my wildcard also about some players, Thiago, Shade, and also you should try to avoid someone like Dango Utara, because I just saw a lot of people, maybe you don't know, he's going to go to AFCON, so he's an avoid. Someone like Van den Berg in defense, someone like Kelleher, someone like Collins, this could be decent picks. With Manchester United, again, on a wildcard, I'm not so sure how many players I would include. Bournemouth, Aston Villa, and Newcastle in the next three is not amazing. After that, it's Wolverhampton, Leeds, Burnley, and Man City in Gaming 22. So again, we're going to discuss about players like Bruno Fernandes, Mbeumo Cunha. Obviously, you're not going to go for Mbeumo at the moment. He's also going to go to the African Cup of Nations. Arsenal is a really interesting team to discuss because I think that everybody should try to have three players from Arsenal on their wildcard, on their free, or at least get close to that with a minimum of two. Now, at the moment, they have a lot of problems in defense, and it's going to depend a lot how Arsenal are going to line up in the Champions League. If someone like Saliba is going to be back, Calafiori obviously is suspended for Game Week 16, so we don't have a lot of options in defense, because at some point players like Mosquera, players like Gabriel are going to be back, and everyone is going to want to have Gabriel back in their team. So again, going with two or three Arsenal players on a free, on a wildcard, sorry, it is a little bit sensible, but it is manageable, and we're going to discuss also about that. From West Ham, probably just Bowen would have a little bit of interest from me. Crystal Palace, they're going to play against Man City. So if you want to have, I don't know, a defender from Crystal Palace, probably that's enough if you can bench him in Game Week 16. But Leeds, Spurs, Fulham, Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Sunderland in Game Week 22, the run of fixtures is okay. For Crystal Palace. They are an amazing team. We saw that their defenders pretty much are amazing at the moment, and they were this season. But I'm just not sure how many defenders you wanna have in your team for that run. Man City, another team who probably I would try to have three players from Manchester City. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Everton from Game Week 18, I really like that run of fixtures. Fulham, if you want to take some punts on someone like Harry Wilson, Raul Jimenez. I don't want to say Anderson because he's not a punt, obviously, but the next few fixtures are great. Burnley, Forest, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, Chelsea, then the fixtures are getting a little bit trickier. From Spurs, I think that I would just avoid. I mean, the fixtures are mixed. Nottingham Forest is okay, Liverpool is not that great, Crystal Palace is not that great, Brentford away, Sunderland, Bournemouth. The fixtures are pretty mixed with Spurs, and again with their defenders I'm just not sure how much can we trust them to keep a lot of clean sheets. They are not great also for defensive contributions, so that's pretty much the problem with Spurs. If you want to go for someone like Kudus, he's good at getting assists, he's not that good at getting goals. If you want to go for someone like Richarlison, you're just never going to go there, I think, because you just can't guarantee the minutes. Chelsea, an interesting team, and we're going to discuss about some options from Chelsea. And yeah, pretty much that's it. I would avoid probably players from Wolverhampton. If you really want to go for some players from Aston Villa, probably I wouldn't. They have a great fixture this game week in 16 against West Ham away, but then it's Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Forest, Crystal Palace. So yeah, I would try to avoid. From Bournemouth, you could include someone like Semenyo. The next three fixtures I like: Manchester United away, Burnley, and Brentford. But then it's Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Brighton. So at some point, I just think that you should try to sell your Bournemouth players. And yeah, pretty much that's it. I think that I talked a lot about the fixtures. Let's just move to show you my wildcard draft for Game Week 16. As I said before, if you still have your wildcard available, I think that probably this is the time to use it, considering also players like Foden there. He's rising in price at an incredible rate at the moment. I didn't saw something like that ever before. So again, if you want to try to catch some price rises, probably this is the best gaming to do it, and just activate your wildcard, bring in Foden, and just enjoy you getting rich. So yeah, again, also because Arsenal playing Wolverhampton, this is just an amazing entry point. For an example, if you have already three players from Arsenal, then maybe you just don't need a wildcard. So if you get my point. But if you have just someone like Raya, like me, if you have just someone like Timber, if you have just someone like Bukayo Saka, probably this is the best time to just have three players from Arsenal. And which three players from Arsenal you want to get into your team, it totally depends to you. I'm going to talk why I have this combination with two attacking players from Arsenal. But yeah, as I said before, I have 0.1 millions in the bank with this draft. Maybe you can afford something better. Let's start with the defense. In goal, I'm going with Sanchez because at 4.8 millions, I think that he could be great value. And I just think that Raya, if you're buying new, obviously I wouldn't go for Raya. If you bought Raya when he was 5 millions, 5.5 millions, then it is okay maybe to just keep him on the wildcard. But with Raya, the ceiling is pretty much 6 points. So he's never going to get you more than that. And with other goalkeepers, you could get better returns, and also you could have two playing defenders from Arsenal who maybe are going to get defensive contributions, the usual attacking return. So again, I just think that having two playing defenders from Arsenal makes more sense, especially if you don't have Raya into your team. Now with Sanchez, the fixture in Game Week 16 is great against Everton at home. I think that Chelsea have a good chance of keeping a clean sheet. Then the fixtures are a little bit more trickier: Newcastle away, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, City, Fulham, and Brentford in Game Week 22. So the fixtures are not amazing for Chelsea, but I just trust them. I think that they are a good defense, so that's why I have Sanchez in goal. But if you want to go real short, let's take a look at other goalkeepers. I wouldn't go for Alisson Becker. I don't think that I would go for Donnarumma. Pickford is okay, but it's Chelsea and Arsenal in the next two. Kelleher is another option at 4.5 millions if you can't afford Sanchez. Petrovic, probably not. Ruffs, probably not. If you want to go for Leno, again, it could be okay. If you want to go for, if you can upgrade someone like Dubravka, honestly, you could do that. You could just go for someone like Verbruggen and someone like Kelleher, two playing goalkeepers, which are you just going to rotate. But again, probably this is how I would go on a wildcard. Probably I would like to have Sanchez. I would like to have a piece of that Chelsea defense. So here we are. Now in defense, I'm going to start with Manchester City because I think that I would have three players from Manchester City, although the fixture, I have to say it, is not amazing against Crystal Palace away. I know that Crystal Palace are really tired, or at least a lot of people are saying that about them, and they have a lot of fixtures, to be honest, in this congested period. So probably I still think that Crystal Palace are a good team, obviously, and it's not going to be an easy gaming for Manchester City, but you're going to have Foden on your wildcard. Let's be honest, he's going to rise in price a lot, and just for that matter only, I think that it is worth having him. And then you're going to have him against West Ham at home. Again, it is a Manchester City midfielder. At some point, maybe he's going to be rotated, but we saw this weekend that he played against Sunderland. He started against Sunderland and got good minutes, although City are going to play against Real Madrid in the Champions League. So Phil Foden is going to play a lot of games, and I think that you want to have him long term. And yeah, at the rate he's rising in price at the moment, you should just buy him into your team. So for Manchester City, I would have 100% Foden. Erling Haaland, I don't think that I need to justify this pick, and I would have O'Reilly. Although, as I said before, the fixture is not great for Manchester City, and probably, honestly, I just think that I would bench O'Reilly for this fixture, especially against Crystal Palace away, and I would just play Anderson from Fulham. So this would be my triple up for Manchester City. You could go for someone like Donnarumma. If you want to go for another attacker, I think that's just too much, and I just think that O'Reilly, when especially when Anuary is going to go to the African Cup of Nations, he's just going to be a great value. He's going to get good minutes. He's really attacking, a real attacking defender, so it just makes a lot of sense to have O'Reilly. I wish I had him also in my normal team. So this would be my triple up 100% from Manchester City. So yeah, we have three players locked in on this wild card. Then it really depends which way you want to go. If you want to go for some cheap defenders, I would go for Anderson, for Van den Berg. Both of them have decent fixtures, especially in Game Week 16, but also long term. The fixtures are great. Both of them are decent for defensive contributions and have a little bit of an attacking threat. Now, if you can afford someone like Collins instead of Van den Berg, yeah, you could go there. And my other defenders, I have a cheap defender, which is Esteve. If you want, you can just have Mukiele if you can afford him, but he's just pretty much my fifth defender who's going to be on my bench most weeks, and he's 3.9 million, so that's why he's in my team. And my last defender is Timber. Now, again, let's talk a little bit about Arsenal. As I said before, I would 100% have three players from Arsenal. If you're freeting, if you're wildcarding, or even if not, I think that you should target to buy some Arsenal players in Game Week 16 because the fixture is just great against Wolverhampton at home. Arsenal, if I was to bet which team is going to get a clean sheet in Game Week 16, I would put all my money on Arsenal. Now, again, with it makes a lot of sense to go double Arsenal defense because they are the best defense in the Premier League, and a lot of people probably are not so inclined to go to someone like Bukayo Saka, and I'm going to try to explain my picks. Because for an example, I have Timber, who I think that he's great. Now, again, he's really expensive, so if you can't afford this draft, you could just go for someone like Hincapie. Calafiori obviously is suspended, so you don't go there. If someone like Saliba is going to play in the Champions League and he's back available, I would be tempted to just go for someone like Saliba for the safety, because we saw that with someone like Timber, he could be rested in some if some games are going to be played midweek. But I think that he's great. If he's going to play as a right back, I think that he's good. If he's going to play as a center back, he's going to be better for defensive contributions, but you don't really want to pay 6.5 millions for center back. Now, I have double Arsenal defense, and maybe you're asking why is that? I'm going to try to explain. I think that Rice offers great value at that price, 7.1 millions. And because you're wildcarding in Game Week 16, I think that it makes a lot of sense to have Bukayo Saka for this fixture. Maybe you want to captain him. Now, again, I'm not sure if the minutes are going to be amazing. I'm not sure if he's going to play 90 minutes. Probably not. We need to see how many minutes he's going to get in the Champions League. But at the same time, maybe you're asking why I don't have someone like Cole Palmer into this draft. And that's why. Because this is how I would go on a wildcard, and also in Game Week 17, if you're activating the wildcard in Game Week 16, you're going to have 5 free transfers. So you're going to need to make some transfers. Now, I think that having Saka for Wolverhampton, Everton, and Brighton is perfectly fine. Again, if it's going to be good, you can just keep him all the season. But after that, you could. It is a really easy swap to someone like Cole Palmer, because, for an example, you could have here Cole Palmer if you want. But I just think that, yeah, the fixture in Game Week 16 is great. On a free, maybe I would have Cole Palmer for this fixture in particular against Everton at home, but then it is Newcastle, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, and Manchester City. So I'm not so sure how confident I am having Cole Palmer. Now, if you're going to go for Bukayo Saka, you're going to have him for this fixture, which is better than for Palmer against Wolverhampton at home. And then it is an easy swap if you want to go for someone like Palmer. And also then you can upgrade one of your defenders to another Arsenal defender, and you can move back to that formation with two defenders from Arsenal. And it makes a lot of sense, I think, since you're all going to have 5 free transfers in Game Week 17. Now talking about my other midfielders or talking about some other Arsenal picks, I wouldn't go for someone like Gyökeres, I think, and also I wouldn't go for someone like Eze or Odegaard. I just think that the minutes are not justified. So probably it is between picks like Timber, Saliba, Calafiori again. I wouldn't go for him because he's suspended. Raya, Bukayo Saka, and Rice. Probably Rice. I think that I would include him because he's just great value. He's the most. He got the most points this season out of all the midfielders. So yeah, he's on set pieces. He's good for defensive contributions, all the good stuff. I think that I would have Rice in it. If you want to have Cole Palmer instead of Bukayo Saka and just have someone like Raya or Hinkapie in defense, that's perfectly fine. But I think that this is how I would go if I would be wildcarding. Now, other than that, we talked about Foden, Bruno Fernandes, and Gakpo. To show you the list of midfielders which are available at the moment, and to my surprise, a little bit, or maybe not, there aren't a lot of good midfielders, a lot of good options to pick from. It's just my feeling at the moment. So pretty much, you have a lot of money to spend. You could go for someone like Dewsbury Hall, but then you're going to have a lot of money in the bank, and that's also a perfectly viable strategy. But you're going to have Saka, Foden. Bruno Fernandes is not a player I would be 100% sure I would put on my wildcard in Game Week 16, but because there aren't any other picks, I wouldn't go for Brian Mbeumo because he's going to go for to African Cup of Nations, obviously. I don't think that I would trust Cunha. I just don't think that Cunha at the moment you can justify him being a better pick than Bruno Fernandes, who's on penalties, good for DEFCON on some set pieces. But the fixtures for United after Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Newcastle are going to be great. Wolverhampton at home, Leeds, Burnley away. So I think that I would include Bruno Fernandes, although it doesn't feel so excited. I would love to have someone like maybe someone like Cole Palmer, but I can't also justify going for someone like Cole Palmer, who's the fixtures are not great for Chelsea. Maybe he's not. He's also his minutes are going to be managed a little bit. So yeah, and other than that, I'm going for Gakpo because I think that also with this new topic with Mohamed Salah, obviously we don't know how many minutes he's going to get. Obviously, he's also going to go to the African Cup of Nations. I just think that the minutes for Gakpo are going to be decent. Brighton, Spurs, Wolves, Leeds, Fulham, Arsenal, and Burnley in Game Week 22. This is just an amazing run of fixture. And although Liverpool are nowhere near at the moment like how good they were last season, I would try to have a Liverpool midfielder, a Liverpool attacker, and probably at the moment Gakpo would be my favorite one. Uh, so yeah, looking at other midfielders, Semenyo could be okay. Cunha, Palmer, Trossard, he's good for Game Week 16, I guess, but long term, I'm not sure if you want to go for Trossard. Soboslai is decent, but is he better than Bruno Fernandes, Gakpo, Foden, Rice? Probably not. Odegaard, I don't think that I would go there. Enzo Fernandez with Palmer back, I wouldn't go there. Bruno Guimaraes, fair enough, he's a decent pick, but would I go for Bruno Guimaraes instead of Gakpo, Foden, Bruno Fernandes, Rice? I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. Anderson, again, same. Doku, you can guarantee the minutes. Neto, Kudus, Whiffler, McAllister, really? Are we talking about these players? Minte, fair enough, is okay, but he's playing against Liverpool and Arsenal in the next three. Grealish and Dewsbury Hall, you could go for someone like Dewsbury Hall, but again, is he better than Gakpo, Foden, Bruno Fernandes? You could argue that he's because of his mega holes in the last gamings, but yeah, you're not going to go for Wirtz. You could go for someone like Wilson as a cheap option, but what are you going to upgrade? Again, let's talk a little bit about the strikers. What are you going to upgrade if you're going to go for a cheap midfielder? Haaland would be 100% in, Thiago 100% in. Other than that, as you can see, I've gone with Mark Guyu, who, because Liam Delap is going to be out for some time, he could get some minutes. So even though he's just a bench fodder, he's not going to play anytime soon. yeah, at some point he could get some minutes. So it's Haaland, Thiago, Mateta. Everyone is going to sell Mateta. I don't think that I would include him at the moment. You can't guarantee his minutes, and you don't want to play 8 millions for a striker. Although he's on penalties, he's not getting even 70 minutes every game, so that's just not great. Isak, Ekitike would be great options, but you never know which one of them is going to play. Maybe when Mohamed Salah is going to go to AFCON, maybe they're both going to play, but I'm just not sure. You're never going to be sure. Someone like Isak could be also on penalties, and I'm going to monitor his situation to see if he's still going to start every game, because he could be a nice differential. But at the moment, in Game Week 16, you can't go there. Voltemart, I don't think that I would go there. Bowen is a nice option short term, but is he better than Foden? Gakpo? Maybe, I guess. Raul Jimenez is another one. If you want to go for a 3-4-3 formation, you could easily go for Raul Jimenez because he's going to get good minutes. Rodrigo Muniz is out, so he has to play. He's on penalties. Burnley, Forest, West Ham is great for the next three, but then it's Palace, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Leeds again. Uh, so yeah, pretty much that's it. I don't think that I would go for Watkins. I don't think that I would go for Igor Jesus, Richarlison. No way I would go for João Pedro. Welbeck, the fixtures are just not great. Evan Nilsson, probably not. So yeah, this is pretty much it. You could make some changes, as I said before. If let's say you don't want to go for Gakpo, you could just go for someone like Raul Jimenez, and you have 5.6 millions to spend in midfield, which is perfectly fine. You could go for someone like Anderson. Probably at this point, I would just go for Dewsbury Hall. I mean, he's hauling every gaming, so why not just play him? Also, the fixtures are going to be great after gaming 18. Burnley, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Wolverhampton, and Aston Villa away. And you're also going to have some money in the bank. Now, the other option, let's say you're going to go for Rice, and instead of Esteve, let's go for someone like Hincapié, who I think that is going to be okay. He's pretty much nailed for the next few fixtures for from my point of view. And then you're going to have 9.1 millions to buy a midfielder. But again, what are you going to do with all this money? Semenyo, 7.7, 0.6, sorry. Cunha, Trossard, Odegaard. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't have a lot of other options. Uh, you could go for someone like Cunha if you want, but probably I wouldn't go there. And yeah, this is pretty much. This is also with Raul Jimenez here. So yeah, other players worth discussing. We talked about midfielders, about forwards. Let's talk a little bit about the defenders and try to end that. If you have someone like Virgil van Dijk, definitely you can just keep him on a wild card. Probably I would just avoid. Someone like Munoz is nice. Long term, you could just have him and bench him against Man City, and then I think that he's a great option. So definitely, this is an option. If you have a lot of money, let's just use it, right? A Chelsea defender, I have Sanchez. I don't think that I would double up. Spurs defenders, Sunderland defenders, Crystal Palace defenders. The fixtures are just not amazing at the moment. I don't think that I would go for Senesi. So yeah, pretty much. I think that this is something how my wildcard draft would be if I had the chip for Game Week 16. Probably I talked too much right about this wildcard. Hopefully it's going to be helpful for you, even if you're not wildcarding. Thanks a lot for watching this video this long. Also, if you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like, hit that subscribe button if you're not here, and I'm going to see you next time. Bye. Apoi îmi bag gura lor